that you guys have joined. Thanks a lot. All the very best for today's session. A quick update, if you have not been actively getting yourself involved in Hackathon, please, get yourself involved in the Hackathon channel that we have in our Microsoft Teams. We had our first kickoff call and we talked about a few things about what is Hackathon and how is it going to help you and so on. And we have a follow-up call next week to start thinking about an idea and come up with an idea, form a team, and then start building around that idea. So that's in the process. Okay. Those who are interested, please do feel free to join the Hackathon channel in the Microsoft Teams and let us know your interest, and we'll go from there. All the very best for today's class. Over to you, Krishna.
Okay. Thank you all. So thanks, Sada and Kadir. So I also need to run through the other session. So hopefully I will, today the topic is about Azure Marketplace. Hopefully everybody can see the screen, I hope.
Yes, Krishna.
Okay. So it's been 10 weeks now. Thanks for holding on. Really appreciate it. We have covered Azure Basics, AKS. In the following weeks, we're going to deep dive on AKS. So that's a very good session. I'm working with one of a very awesome presenter called Ahmed Harb. So, and we also talked about application gateway storages, different types of storage systems. And we test based on data estates. So data estates has been split into 3 components. So today we're going to talk about Azure Marketplace. So I call it as a review because Marketplace as a concept is it's similar to any type of marketplace where you can procure the services. So the whole idea of Marketplace is for customers to give an opportunity to buy anything, any softwares that is produced by a third-party publisher. So we'll go into it and then and go from it. So there are a couple of sessions, which is I'm planning to finish this by mid-August, and then we will start. So the naming might change, but the flow is something very similar. We will look at Kubernetes and DevSecOps, and then also the cloud architecture framework. So just coming into the whatever. Sorry, my PowerPoint just failed on me. I don't know why. Just a second. I'm restarting my PowerPoint. Just give me a few minutes, please. It's taking some time. I don't know. Are you all able to see the screen, which has got the slide? The slide is called Platform Services.
No, Krishna, cannot see.
Okay, let me do that now. Okay. I think I see the screen should be displayed now.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, thank you. So I think we covered this earlier. So if you think about Azure services, right? So there are multiple different categories of service. If you talk on the left-hand side, we have security management. Within that, we have Active Directory, Security Center, MFA, Image Depot, and things like that. One aspect of that is called Azure Marketplace. If you see other components like the media, the integration, the compute services, data, intelligence, and IoT, and also the hybrid computing. So a lot of the Microsoft will build a lot of these components from ground up to serve the customers. So that could be a compute service, that could be a storage service, that could be a data service, that could be IoT service. We build pretty much as many services as possible, but there are certain aspects of our solution stack that customers need to use in existing solutions. So let's look at what are the challenges customers tend to usually face. So the first, and if you take the left-hand side, the first and foremost is there are some additional functionality that you need to meet your business and technical needs. For example, it could be, let's say, if you're running SAP, as a software, and you want to have that. Microsoft doesn't obviously write SAP, right? So SAP is written by a third-party company. You might have certain types of tools that you want to use. You might want to use a load balancer of some type. Because of that particular requirement, you need to use software. So one other thing is, okay, be able to find the software that is able to run this SAP. Let's take in two very well-known example, something like a FortiGate, from a firewall perspective, and SAP. Okay, we found the software, but it's not like Azure is not like it's a virtual machine where you can deploy it and everything is going to be fine, right? It has got HA, it's got DR, it's got other capabilities. It's cloud brings in additional different challenges for these software vendors too. So you need to make sure that software that is running is able to run on Azure. So how do you do that? Usually the vendor in question would test the software on Azure and make sure it runs on Azure. It's like a platform certification, Okay, so let's assume for the fact that, hey, the software that you're trying to deploy on Azure is certified, but what happened? New feature releases. Whether the vendor that is able to deploy a service is able to constantly update the solution and things like that. So as a customer, when you're dealing with these sort of components, we also want to make sure it's like a traditional life cycle where the software gets deployed on Azure. It is certified to be running on Azure. It takes advantage of all the native capabilities of Azure. If you think about what are native capabilities, it could be Active Directory integration. It could be log integration. It could be, like a way these different types of virtual machines. Right now, we have seen Azure has got different types of virtual machine. Whether you're able to take advantage of that. It has got different regions, Canada Central and Canada East, whether your software is able to be deployed in multiple places, and not only on top of that, life cycle of the software has to be maintained, right? If your version changes, are you able to, if the customers that are deploying on Azure are able to get the new releases of the software? So this is where the common challenges when customers have to face when they're trying to deploy a third-party solution. So if you think about Azure Marketplace, it gives a platform for these third-party vendors to come and host their applications on Azure, and they also offer these services to the end customers as they would normally do on any other platform, including the private cloud, including on-premises. So what that gives them, it helps the vendors to be able to provide similar services, similar offerings, similar categories of services to the end customer, which means they're able to sell the services on Azure as they would do with any other platform. So this is a huge paradigm shift in terms of our customers. Think about this pretty much as a marketplace, as the name mentions. It's a marketplace for applications, and also not only that, okay, searchability is also key, right? There will be thousands of applications. For example, if you take a load balancer, there is F5, there is FortiGate, there is, you name it, there is a piece of software. There's a piece of a load balancer. How does the customer be able to find? You have to have a search window, like similar to a shopping channel, a shopping cart, right? Or where any e-commerce site should have some sort of search capabilities. Azure Marketplace builds into that. So we'll also come about payment as well. That's something of interesting. And we also talk about first-party applications and third-party applications too shortly. So this is like this give a simple example, right? So what does certification mean? So basically, there are a couple of key areas. What happens is, first and foremost, the applications are configured to run on Azure virtual machines, which means they have to test. The vendor has to test the application, prove it works, make sure it runs consistently. So sometimes what happens is there's also services offering. When I say services offering, the partner in question will be able to offer some sort of additional services on top of the software. And also other things like opportunity for customer. For sometimes some of these vendors also give a free offers, right? Where they will say, I'm going to offer this service for free when you run Azure for 30 days, limited trial offer. Or some offers could be such a way that where customers don't pay till they reach the threshold. There are multiple offerings they have to provide. So basically, the certification gives them an ability for the partner or the product company in question to offer whatever the transactional things the customer expecting out of the solution, so that the customer has got opportunity to test it out and deploy it as they feel like when they want to do that. So if you go to Azure portal, when you look at marketplace, you look for marketplace, you're going to see something very similar where you can search it. You can look for certain types of application. We also, for example, we offer 8 or 9 types of Linux distribution. We offer things like Hortonworks, the data platform, Trend Micros, you name it. There is a solution on top of Azure. Not only that, variations of types of products. From a management perspective, you can choose Chef, Ansible, Datadog, and application side, you can deploy Drupal, and then from frameworks, we support all the things in. From a database perspective, if you want to deploy, a custom MySQL, not the Microsoft Managed offering, you can deploy MySQL on it. Couchbases, data stacks, and infrastructure-wise Linux operating systems, the whole lot, right? So just to give an example, we don't really restrict you from using only certain types of products. You have choice to deploy any product you want based on your needs, and most likely the product would be available on Azure. For scenarios where we don't find that special piece of software, there have been, if you reach out to Microsoft, we will see what options we have for customers to host them on Azure as well. So I just want to quickly go into, okay, customers are able to procure the service, they're able to, get the service according to their needs. But technically speaking, an application, it's not an application because an application could be composed of different types of Azure solutions, right? It could be a infrastructure as a service of some components. It could be databases. It could include databases. It could also include some front-end application too, right? So it depends on your combination. An application can be composed of multiple different things. The reason I want to bring that into context is I want to touch base on 2 or 3 use cases and also show you a couple of sample use cases that can be used. So fundamental factors that services that you deploy should be able to coexist with existing Azure components, both from the perspective of providing you a single unified solution, and also from the aspect of ability for these marketplace application to work with the application in question. For example, we want all the Azure Marketplace application to be able to integrate with Azure Active Directory as an example. So when these third-party application produces the logs, we want the ability for the logs to land into something like Azure Log Analytics Workspace or Sentinel. And not only that, when these services should also be able to understand the nuances of availability zones and availability sets, so that from a HA&DR perspective, when these third-party applications get deployed on Azure, you also get you as a customer get the benefit of HA&DR as you get on any other application there. I'm going to touch base on two types of application, marketplace application that customers are using it now. The reason I bring this is to showcase two distinct variations of the application type. The first one I want to talk about is called the Databricks. So Databricks is a very unique application because we call Databricks as a first-party PaaS. So what we mean by first-party PaaS is, so Databricks has taken the solution and then deployed the solution in the marketplace as if it behaves like a native Azure application. So when you say native Azure application, what are the things it does? First and foremost is customers, when they deploy the service, they will get a similar look and feel of an Azure portal access. How when you deploy a service, you will get activity log, you will get integrated access management. You also get into identity integration. You also get the ability to have NSGs baked into it. All the native Azure feature sets are baked into the platform itself when you deploy this one. So the reason that applications like NetApp and Databricks are called first-party PaaS is basically they've taken, they worked with Microsoft, put their application underneath the Azure fabric, so that from a customer point of view, they don't see a differentiation between how Databricks would work versus any other third-party application or any other native Azure services. The reason this is very important is from a manageability perspective and also contractual perspective. Customers don't need to have separate contractual obligations for Databricks, as an example, or NetApp. It's within the same billing mechanism. What happens from the third-party vendor perspective, it's a seamless transaction for them. At the same time, from customer aspects perspective, it basically looks and feels like Azure. It gives better value. So some product companies choose to do that because of the strategic relationship they have with Microsoft. Some products still tend to keep them as a virtual machine. When you deploy a virtual machine, it has got its own other set of things to work with. But just want to demarcate on specific aspect of Databricks, where we calling Databricks as a first-party PaaS. NetApps is also a first-party PaaS. And not only this, there are offers within. For example, customers can go 1 year reserved instance, 3 year reserved instances. A lot of these, I would say, financial mechanism for long-term contractual things also comes as part of the first-party PaaS application there. The next one I want to talk about is the SAP. Pretty much, everybody in the industry would know what SAP means. So what happens with SAP is again a special type of service where Microsoft and SAP worked very closely together to offer a native cloud Azure native SAP service. So what do you mean by Azure native SAP service? Because SAP as an application stack has got a very unique way of working, both from the way how it operates on the cloud, as well as there are special needs for the SAP, like a certain IP, a certain IOPS it will need certain types of virtual machines. It also needs a certain type of deployment plans. So in that scenario, when customers are deploying SAP on Azure, we make sure that the best features of Azure is configured for SAP, so customers get the value out of SAP. So SAP is not like installation, a couple of boxes and get you go there. But SAP, some other requirements like they might need 60,000 IOPS as for a disk. I'm just saying, things like that. So there are strategic relationship we do. Same thing as SaaS. Microsoft worked with SaaS to build specialized deployments of SaaS on Azure, for especially SaaS via. Where we took all the inputs that are necessary, all the configuration that are necessary for SaaS to operate properly on Azure, we deploy that. The reason I bring this is because each vendor has got certain conditions they have to satisfy for the application to run optimally. The Azure Marketplace gives the ability for the partners in question to fine-tune the deployments according to the application needs, so that as an end customer, they get to have the best of what the product is offering in terms of feature sets and able to run without any hitches. And also supportability plays a major role, right? So when the platform is certified, for example, SAP, the support issues are handled by the SAP support. When they do that, when they know this deployment is happening on Azure, they will make sure that they take all the parameters of operating environment of Azure and then address the customer in question with the right information or the right feedback. And also a lot of performance test happens too, right? Because SAP as a system has got multiple different processes, and it has got different unique set of disk requirements. It also have different set of database requirements. In that scenario, Microsoft works with SAP to test the application so that they operate optimally on Azure. So the whole lot of things goes into it. Same thing with Adobe as well. So you work with Adobe extensively. Okay, so this is all well and good, but we also make sure there are common, especially SAP, we also work with Dynamics CRM to build common data models so that data information, metadata between SAP and Dynamics CRM can be transferred. So the reason I'm saying is deploying an Azure Marketplace is not just like a server installation. It's just much more deeper depending on the application in question. We work with a particular vendor and that is supplying that to make sure the customers get the best experience of it. Obviously, there are licenses and things like that, but that's taken care. I'm going to quickly go into a couple of marketplace scenarios. So, I mean, this is not the whole list. This is one of the frequently used list. The reason I'm mentioning that is customers, third-party marketplace providers can also have things like demo version of the software where they will supply a base version which has got all capabilities of the functionality they can test out. They have demo versions of it. The same thing, they want to do POC. Some of these partners also give you 30-day licenses, 50-day licenses, depending on it. And also sometimes the licensing model can vary between a dev test and a production one. Some partners do that as well. Obviously, production, when it comes to production, there's also supportability and everything. So based on the needs, the marketplace vendors have got a choice to go and tune their deployments according to what they want, according to the end customer needs. So I'll quickly go to the next few slides. I'm going to go and walk through 3 or 4 use cases using Marketplace, and then we can go from there. So let's take a simple example here. This is a data analytics scenario. As you can see, the customer has got 3 tiers. The bottom tier talks about Azure Web App, which is a PaaS service, which is generating some data, and the data is residing in the blob storage. If you see the top tier, there are 3 different marketplace applications. One is data stacks, and also there's the interactive analytics solution, and also data management solution. These 3 are a marketplace application. What you notice on this one is because of how the solutions are built, these third-party applications can cohesively work with the native to Azure services, which doesn't matter if it's a PaaS service or IaaS service. Still, the customer are able to work with us to make sure they're able to give a single unified solution. We spoke about having ability for the solution to coexist within the native services. This is one simple use case. The next one is the e-commerce site. So here there are 3 tiers: internet tier, service tier, and data tier. The difference in this one aspect specifically is the Riverbed. So Riverbed is another good piece of software that are usually used for load balancing for certain use cases. Yes, Azure does have things like application gateways, load balancers, front door or traffic manager. But in this specific use case, the customer prefers to use Riverbed. Also, one other aspect is the lot of third-party solutions like a pure SaaS solutions, Workday, if you use Salesforce, there are tons of other solutions which there's in Apples of the world, where these solutions don't need to be deployed, but they're SaaS-based solutions. in that scenario, these softwares also work with identity management product by Azure to, again, it goes back to the previous use case we spoke about, ability for customers to take holistic view of the solution. So one interesting piece here I want to mention is SendGrid for sending, I would say, emails and things like that, and also monitoring tools. Even though Azure does have Azure Application Insights, here the customer can choose to use the third-party solution and deploy that as part of Azure. So again, this talks about the e-commerce solution, types of components for you to arrive at the end with the end use case that are specifically focused on your customers. Again, one more different variation where the internet tier has got different component called Chem Technologies, which is a load balancer. Where it gets interesting is on the data tier piece, Hortonworks. Hadoop is a well-known, I would say, data store for analytics. So in this case, again, the same component, but we mixed and matched with a couple of new things, which are Hortonworks and an antivirus software depending on the use case. So again, different use cases, but ability to use multiple components to get your things going. The last use case I want to talk about is in the application tier, we're integrating with native Azure tools like Dynamics AX. But your top portion in terms of the web tier, you use different components to get you going as well. So, in summary, I think the main takeaway from today's session is Azure by itself is basically it's not a standalone component. Customers can use third-party solutions to provide an end-to-end use case for the business needs. And again, this is I wouldn't say this is very Microsoft has always been a solution provider that third-party companies usually can build and release softwares on it. So Azure is not any different. But in Azure, the scope and scale are very huge in terms of what these third-party providers can offer. So today's session is pretty much on the app and the marketplace scenario. So I'm open for any questions. If you guys want to have, I don't have any content today apart from this, but I'm opening the the floor for questions, and then we can go from there. Sarika, I see a raised hand. Is that a question or are you testing out the feature?
No, it was mistakenly.
Okay.
Sorry for that.
I think while we have some time, I'll showcase my screen so that so that you can see what's in it. Let me share. Let me. So hopefully you can see my my screen. So the way you usually look for services in Azure is you type in the keyword Azure Marketplace, and then look for Marketplace, and that's it. So look is searching for the available services. There you go. As you can see, the services are classified into different buckets. One is managed services. I think previously we showcased about, third-party companies can also offer services as part of the marketplace. This is one such example. And depending on the type of service, if it's a compute, we have compute type workloads. We have IoT. If you're using any migration stuff, we can also have migration related stuff. So in summary, the services are classified according to the category where it lands in, and then go from it. And off late, you're starting to see like companies like Datadog are starting to offer private services, which means there are specialized plan for these vendors to use it. As you can see, we also talk about standard contractual agreements specific for the piece of software, which means customers don't need to cover multiple different types of contracts. And also each and every vendor can also have an option of sharing their own pricing plan, so that it's also very clear for the customer to directly pay these partners or the marketplace providers. So for them, the value add from Microsoft for these vendors is it reduces time to market for these partners. And from a customer perspective, they are just dealing with one vendor, which is Microsoft, and everything else can roll up into that one. So apart from this session, I don't have any much content to it. If there are any questions, I'll look at the chat window.
No questions yet,
Okay.
Krishna.
No problems at all. So if there are no questions, I need to run for the hackathon, Saad. So my session started 11:30. It's right on time. I will share the slide deck as usual. If you have any further questions, feedback, we're more than happy to answer it. If not, I'll finish the sessions early, give you 15 minutes back. I need to run for the hackathon shortly. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks.
Thank you.